What up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. My friends, today we are with Mr. Justin Bousquet, friend of mine. The guy actually taught me how to swim. I owe a lot to this dude. He's a great dude. Hard worker, toughest worker you'll ever see. I don't know how the guy can ride bikes for like 8-9 hours straight. The guy's just an animal. But I'll tell you, without him, I don't know that I would have finished my swim. So Justin, thank you for that. If you're listening to this, hey, you know what? Last few days have just been nuts in my head, and I had to go and take a reset. That happened on Tuesday. I'm actually recording this on Saturday. And, it was just, I had to just take a break. Have you ever had to go and just kind of, something like this is a perfect example. Like your phone is freezing up and it won't do anything, and you stay there and you fight with it and you're trying everything, and you're trying this, you're trying that, and then you spend like an hour and you're like, what is wrong with this phone? And all of a sudden you realize all you have to do is turn it off, power it down, and then power it back up, and it works fine. And the same thing with your computer. It's all hung up and nothing's working, and all you gotta do is power it up or power it off, and then you power it back up and it's fine. So ironic. I just called my wife too. I'm like, this is crazy. My new computer's not working. Because my laptop, or my wife's laptop, crapped the bed last week, so we had to get a new laptop. Anyway, long story short, my microphone's not working. So I spent the last, 20 minutes like, what is wrong with this stupid computer? Looking at the settings, watching YouTube videos. The microphone's not working. All I do is I go to YouTube. That doesn't work. And then finally I'm like, I'm talking about a reset. I shut the computer off, restart it, and the friggin' microphone's working. I mean, it's the exact same thing. Sometimes we just need a reset. My friends, I took a 2-day reset. I feel like a new person. I don't know where you are right now with what's going on, but sometimes the best thing to do is just take a break, disconnect from it, stop pushing. If you're like me, you like to push, stop pushing, and then just take a break and breathe, and everything will come to you. That's how I felt. I felt amazing. If I don't know where you are, but if that's where you are, try it out. Do some journaling, take a break, go outside, spend some fresh air with the kids, get some fresh air, whatever. Do anything. Just get out of the grind for a little bit. And that's what I had to do. Anyway, this is a really long intro. I want to get you to my friend Justin. He's awesome. He talks about all the things he did as an athlete, and he hosts the AGA Athlete Podcast, or AGA Podcast. So check out his podcast. The guy rocks. You rock. And hey, don't forget, join our meetup this month at davidsmeetup.com. Just go to davidsmeetup.com. Next meetup's October 8th, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. You rock. Hey, what's up, Masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. Today we are with my friend Justin Bousquet. Justin, did I say your name right? Are we friends now?
Right. You got it right.
So, because you said earlier, my friends say it this way. So that's. I want to make sure I'm one of your friends, man.
You definitely are.
How's it going, brother?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. And the reason I wanted to have you on today, beyond being a cool person and teaching me how to swim, which was fun, you run a podcast called the AGA Triathalon Podcast, correct?
I do, yes. It's a recently new podcast, but the idea has been around for about a year. So,
the idea with who? For the podcast or with you?
Both. I think the idea came from I had seen some televised like Ironman races, like the Ironman World Championship in Kona, and they highlighted a bunch of different people and how they got there and their story. And I went, this is interesting. Super interesting. It was really very entertaining stories of triumph, stories of failure, stories of people and their resilience. And I went, this just got to be more people than just the 3 or 4 people that were highlighted on that show. And that's where it came from.
Cool, man. Well, I thoroughly enjoy listening. Like I said, but I'm into triathlon, though, right? So, in AGA, what it stands for age group, right? Age group athlete. What does that mean exactly?
Right. So there's divisions of triathlon, and they segment your age, and gender, in it. The age group athlete is different from a professional athlete because they're not paid, and the age group athletes ages range. So I called it the age group athlete because the show is designed for non-professional athletes because they already have a podcast that they can all go on and talk about it. It's designed for the everyday person.
So I'm gonna let me go. I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm gonna guess that people who do triathlons are not the everyday person, right? It's a different level of commitment and I commit. I don't know. You tell me. I mean, I know my experience with it was I grew in a lot of other areas, but you've been doing them for a long time. I mean, how long have you been? How many
Oh
years?
God, I've been a part of the triathlon community. This is my third full year competing, but I've been a fan of endurance racing for much longer than that. And I compete. So yeah, there's an element to it, but I mean, the podcast is really designed for anyone because anybody can do it, and it sounds like it's a lot of people will say that that's not the case, but it's designed for people who don't think that. The decision to change your life is one that is not easy, and the things that come along the way while you're doing that will have some high points and some low points. And I attribute triathlon because it changed my life, and it's for the better. And the world of triathlon is a supportive community. So it's that's my view. And I think that I believe that anybody can do it if they put the necessary consistent effort into it. It's something that you've got to kind of get out of your own way, if you will.
Yeah. I like that you said that, and let's go there for a while with this conversation. The anyone or anybody can do it conversation, because it took me a while. I'll use myself as an example, and I'm sure there's other people listening right now that have done. And I do want to. I don't want people that haven't done a triathlon not to. So if you haven't done a triathlon yet, don't say, okay, I shouldn't listen to this. Like, you should listen to this, because we really want this to correlate with the same skills that we're using here to get through this triathlon are the same skills you're going to use to, whether you're building a business, whether you're, selling real estate, or you're just trying to become a better performer with whatever you do, right? It's just this is I mean, I learned so much. I grew so much. But when you go back to the anybody can do it, Justin, it took a while for me to get, I guess I always like to say I was coerced into doing it. I joke around, but I wasn't intending to do it. I had no interest in doing it. I didn't want to do it. But I agreed to it. And then once I agreed to it, then I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure this out now. But there were a lot of times that I thought, I can't do this.
Correct. Yeah. And
I'm not going to be able to do this.
There's a mentality that comes along with it. And those who say they can't are not willing to let themselves. They're not willing to let themselves fail. They're comfortable. They're happy with the way they are, or they're unhappy with the way they are, and they just don't want to change, or they don't want to put the necessary work in to change. And those are the types of people that will tell you that you're crazy and you can't do that, or it's the naysayers, or whatever the case may be. But there are so many hundreds of thousands of examples of people that have stared odds in the face and have succeeded. And those people will tell you a completely different story. And that's what the podcast is about. It's about those people and the ability to inspire others to think that way. Because there's two different types of people in this world. And one of them are sayers and the others are doers. And I think once you've changed over from just saying you're going to do something to actually doing it, it changes your mindset. It allows you to accept the fact that you're not perfect. And no matter what you do, you will strive for that perfection, but you most likely will never get there. You could be as close to perfect as you can, but there will always be somebody who's a little more perfect than you are. And that is not a bad thing. Most people think that's a negative, and it's not. It should motivate you or fuel you to be better every day. And I think that mindset does relate to any business you're trying to build. We're both in real estate, right? So when we're trying to build a relationship with a client, or we're trying to work through a problem with whatever the case may be in our business, that mindset translates. And I think that's the most important part that triathlon's given me personally. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'm going to go back to something you said, or you kind of alluded to that a lot of people, or maybe you didn't, but the reality is I know a lot of people that say they're going to do a triathlon and they get all pumped up and they get ready. And I experienced this. And then you start training and you're just like, holy cow, I didn't expect that. Or for me, it was the swimming. Like I signed up for my first race I signed up for was an Ironman 70.3. So I don't know that I would recommend other people start there, but that was my situation. And I knew I had to swim 1.2 miles. And I got in the pool my first time and I swam 2 laps. In my mind, I said, I got to get out of this. There's no way I can, it's impossible. This is impossible. But yet, mentally, I called the guy back and we should be talking about this on your podcast. Honestly, I don't know why I'm talking about this now. This is about you. But I think it can help people to relate to how we can do so much more than we believe. Because I called Adam Hergenroth, who's the guy that, got me to do, and I said, dude, I cannot do this. I swim 2 fucking laps. Excuse my language. Now it's R-rated. And now there's no way, Adam. And Adam said, stop being a bitch and go hire a coach. And I said, okay. I hadn't really thought about hiring a coach.
You know what? Right? And it's interesting that you brought that up because you have a business, right? You've been working in real estate for what, 17 years?
Yeah.
Over 17 well, in the beginning, Did you know what you were doing?
No, but I was on a team, so they helped a little bit. But yeah, I get the point.
But you had a playbook, right?
Yeah.
So somebody sat you down and said, this is what you need to do. So you had a coach. So whether you like it or not, or you're on a team or however you started, somebody pointed you in a direction. and said, this is what you have to do, and I'm very pro coach. There's a reason for it. I did my first triathlon, my first Ironman I've ever done. I did alone. I did it with no coaching, and it was very difficult because I was just like you. To be honest, I wasn't a strong swimmer. I can cycle with some of the best of them. I can't run.
An animal on the cycle.
I can't run. I mean, I'm not a good runner. My marathon times are 6 and 7 hours. They're atrocious. So it's like but you alluded to it before as well. You said that, you got in the pool, you swam 2 laps, and you're like ready to give up. And that's your mindset. That's your mindset. That's your mind. Your mind wants you to be comfortable, saying, I don't need to do that. I don't need to make those phone calls today. That's where it translates to business, and if you let your mind tell you that, you'll never experience what you've experienced.
What's funny though is listening to what you just said. It's like, yes, my mind said that, but also my body physically, I just could not swim. Mm-hmm. And so there's that, you know what I mean? So I had to also not just, and I think that's where the coach came in, hiring the swimming coach who watched me. And I love how you brought this to business, because you're right. It's exactly the same. Like you and I, we jump on the phone and we call expired sellers and for sale by owner sellers, right?
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yep. Every morning. See, there's a difference. It's not just one morning. Every morning. So you jumped in that pool one time and you swam back and forth and you went, oh my God, I can't do this. But over the next 6 months, you swam 2-3 days a week, back and forth, and slowly but surely, you got 2 laps, then 3 laps, then 4 laps. Now you're doing 500 repeats. And now, lo and behold, you call me up and say, I've never swam open water before. Think you could help? And it's all about
consistency. That was scary. That was super scary for me.
Super scary. But what's more scary? And this is where the mindset comes back in, is what's more scary, not being able to achieve what you set out to do, or facing it head on? Which one is it? Because the last thing you want to do is end up.
Hey Masters, I'll get you right back to the show. Please go sign up right now for davidsmeetup.com for our monthly meetup. The next one's October 8th. My friends, if you were on last month, Michael Burnoff killed it. Destroyed it for us with the Matarazzo brothers. I do apologize because we had tech issues again, and I'll tell you, we're moving to a brand new system, a whole new system. We're not going to have tech issues again. You're going to be able to get on. So go get registered right now for davidsmeetup.com, October 8th. And hey, if you haven't checked out my latest article, I'm rewriting the book. I've got a new release coming out. I'm excited about that. And I'm starting to do more writing. So, hey, I just did a really cool real estate article on hiring a realtor. I'd love to get your feedback. So go to davidihill.com/5 mistakes. Again, davidihill.com/5 mistakes. And check it out. Love to get your feedback. And my friends, I'll see you on the meetup. davidsmeetup.com. See you soon.
With your business failing and wondering why, because you're going to question yourself, but you know the answer. So the answer is the excuse you gave yourself, the out you gave yourself, is ultimately the reason why you're not successful. And it's a grind. And anybody who tells you there's a short solution to this is wrong. It requires work. It requires effort. It requires consistency. If you can do those things every day, you can do anything. And that's where triathlon translates over to business. It translates over to your life. It translates over to your relationships. It translates over to you being a better person every day. And positivity is huge in that, because you're going to have moments of weakness and tired, and you're going to be tired, and you're going to hurt, and it's going to hurt, and your body's going to ache, and you're going to wake up in the morning and say, I don't want to go for that run. And then hopefully they turn on my podcast and they listen to it, and they get some motivation or inspiration for that day, or they listen to the stories that are on there for the everyday person like me or you that's gone through a struggle, who's just training for their first triathlon, or had a bad experience at one, or is a 3-time 70.3 world qualifier. So maybe that those types of stories are what you need that morning. Motivation is huge, but consistency is what builds and continues to make you thrive as a human being. So,
you know what's interesting? Thinking about that, I mean, the training helped. And for people who haven't done this, as you're getting closer to these races, the training sessions on the weekends are 6-7 hour blocks, and that's for a 70.3. You've done the full 140. That was always thing that, like, you would say, I'm going on a 8-hour bike ride. I'll be like, all right, dude, have fun. I'm finishing up my 5 hour. You know what I mean? Or I mean, it's insane. How do you do that, man? Like, think
about what you just said. Even in your end, you went for a 5-hour bike ride. That, to most people that hear that, including yourself at one point, if you said to yourself 5 years ago, I'm going for a 5-hour bike ride, what would your answer be?
Yeah, right. For what?
You're crazy.
Am I driving to the Cape? Yeah.
Yeah, you're crazy. That's what, and that's where you've already made that decision to commit to the hard stuff, and you're not saying you're going to do it. You do it, and you're better for it. Yeah, there's going to be some pain. There's going to be some obstacles. There's going to be some things that you're going to have to overcome. But you learn a lot about yourself and you learn about not only yourself, but you learn about all the other things that you've may have taken for granted, or let go, or troubles that you may have in your life that you need to work out. And sometimes, the most, I heard a good quote once. It says that the best person, the only person that can make you better is you. So you rely on, there's so many people in this world that rely on relationships with others and codependency and I'm not saying those things are worthless. I'm saying that they're never really truly happy with themselves, and they never get there. And they also are their own worst enemy. So they never let themselves get uncomfortable. And it's important that you've got to be uncomfortable for you. You've got to be uncomfortable with yourself. You've got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because you learn the most about yourself when you are uncomfortable. And so the reason I do long course racing is because it's super uncomfortable. It's not easy. An 8-hour bike ride is not easy. And I do it because I learn the most about me in those moments. I have the ability to work out a lot of my issues, things that I need to think about. All those things happen while I'm on the bike, or I'm on a run, or I'm in the water. Like, I have the ability to put myself somewhere else, and
so
really work.
And how do you? So what occurred to me is, from doing this, I've kind of built a mental muscle of right. So that same resilience and endurance that I used to swim and bike, and I can now use that. It's easy for me to do an hour of prospecting in the morning. It's like, because I compare that to, okay, I just did a 3.5. I got up at 4:30 a.m., worked out for 3.5 hours or 4 hours. Now I'm in my office at 8, and it makes things easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does somebody, like, let's say somebody doesn't necessarily want to do a triathlon, but they want to translate this same mental muscle or mental toughness into their business. Do you have any strategies for that, or what would be recommendation?
Yeah. I mean, find the things you're good at and get better at them. Because you may think you're the best at prospecting, but you're not. You think you are, but I think I'm one of the strongest cyclists on the planet. Well, if you surround yourself with strong cyclists, you find out very quickly that you're not the strongest cyclist on the planet. So that's one of the things that I do, consistently. I seek out people that are better than me, and I'm willing to admit it, because I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm not the best. And there's a humility that comes along with being uncomfortable, and the realization that you're not the best, and it's okay. You don't have to be the best to be successful. You can follow a model, you can follow a plan, and you can be the best version of you, and that's good enough.
I love that. Yeah.
So, and just because you're not the Kona champion, in Ironman, or you're not the number one real estate agent in the world, it doesn't mean that you're not successful in what you've accomplished, because the goals ultimately in your life are yours. You choose your path, and you choose how good you get to be on that path. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really talked about it in a while, and I'm not training for anything right now, so it's interesting.
None of us are.
It's well, it's interesting because I'd gotten I was almost addicted to the training, which is really weird to say. It's like, okay, I'm going to go for a 3-hour bike ride. I'm going to do a 45-minute run, and although I don't necessarily want to do it, I look forward to do it, and then when it's done, it's like, it's amazing. But now, frankly, it's like I'm just being honest. I don't necessarily miss that right now, although I do want to do another race though. So I think it's interesting because, and we'll talk more about this on your show, and I look forward to being a guest. But for me, everything I did was just to get to that finish line. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like everything leading up to that was just to cross that finish line. And it was an interesting experience when I crossed the line. Right?
You accomplished something that you set out to do.
But so many people listening to this, like, how do those, I want everybody to take what they just listened to with us. Like, how do they take that and become a better version of their self? And actually, I lost track of what I was going to say. I said to you should go do a triathlon. Like, if you're listening to this, go sign up, go do a try at your local gym or fitness club. Do, a smaller race to start off, just to challenge yourself, because I grew so much. I think I grew more from doing this race than just about anything I've done. I mean, I've done Tony Robbins. I've done all the seminars, all the trainings, the webinars, the landmarks, the everything. Nothing has helped me grow and gave me more confidence doing that race. Nothing.
There's no price tag on personal experience. It just isn't. You can't put a number or a cost on learning from you. It's intangible. The most important thing about what happened to you and what's happening now is that it's given your mind a chance to reevaluate what you've done, and it automatically wants to go back to comfortable because that's where we go. It's the same thing with people who go to the gym and January 1st, 3 weeks later, after they've gone through the whole entire process of being sore and hurting themselves, for some reason won't walk back into the gym 3 weeks after they started. It's because it's consistency, it's habit. And the habits we form have to be worked at every day. So you can't set a goal and not work at it. You've got to set a goal and find tangible things that are attainable in the beginning. So you asked a question earlier that was super important, and the listeners need to know this, is that every person that's starting a business or trying this, or you know what, I'm going to put it out here and say, you don't have to do a triathlon. Go watch one. Go watch those people put that effort in. You'll be inspired by just that. You volunteer at a race, a local triathlon race, and just volunteer and watch the race. You don't have to do it if you're not physically capable of doing it right now. But the only way you get to be physically capable is by having a plan and working the plan. So you have to have a plan, then you have to work at the plan, and then the plan comes to life. That's when it happens. So with work, with triathlon, with the podcast that I host, that's what it's about. It's about people like you and me, everyday people that have decided to do this hard thing and how it's helped their lives for the better. So it's one question I ask on my podcast all the time. I said, how has triathlon changed you? And the reason I ask that question is because every person has given me a different answer, but it all translates to the same real answer, which is I've gotten better. I'm a better version of me now than I ever was. Yeah. And it's because I made the commitment.
I love it. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Well, I think for everybody listening to this, the reality is that, whether you're doing a triathlon or you're just growing your business, or the first step's going to be, like you said, get around people that are doing it at the higher level, right? You said you may not have to do a triathlon, but go volunteer at one, watch one. So watch what the pros are doing, right? Watch what people at higher level are doing. Then, like me, you're probably going to have to hire a coach, or at least find a mentor, somebody that's going to be able to help guide you through, right? And then you got to show up. You cannot everybody listening, you cannot underestimate the need to show up consistently every day. In a triathlon, there's no day. I think when I was training, I think I had one day off every 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. I think it's either every 3 weeks. I think there was one. I mean, there was some lighter workouts, but you actually had a day off. It's the same thing in business, especially when you're starting out, right? So for people listening, you don't have to do a try. I would encourage you to do one just to do it and experience it. But listen, what Justin's talking about right now, and what I'm talking about, this is the same stuff that you want to bring into your business.
Yep. You want to translate this across the line, because too many people, they don't do that. They become highly successful in one area of their life, but the rest of the areas of their lives are not. They're compartmentalized, and you've got to find a way to bridge the gap and allow all the hard work that you've put into being extremely great in one area to spill over into the rest of your life. So, but I mean, let's take path to mastery, right? It's a path, right? So, I mean, it's a path to be on, but there's a bunch of masters out there, right? So there's aspiring ones, there's different levels of people. that have that go on, that come on, that listen, and some of them have attained some really successful things by doing the things that we've been talking about today, being consistent and working and not taking no for an answer and dealing with objections, and which is in your life, objections for you can be setbacks, could be anything, but you've got to be able to persevere and overcome. And I think, your podcast translates so much because I listen to your podcast weekly. And the reason I do that is because I want to pick up things. I'm trying to learn, but I'm not only am I trying to learn, I'm trying to grow. And by growing, we listen to others and people. We may find things that in people that have PhDs and doctorates, but I find the most interesting things and the things I learn the most from an off comment somebody may say that sparks something in my brain to think about it differently.
Yeah.
So
good point. All right, my friend. Well, hey, I just want to say I appreciate you being on the show. If people want to check you out, how do they do that?
All right, you can go to the AGA Triathalon Podcast. It's on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts. It's on Stitcher, all the major ones, really. You can email if you want to be on the show. If you are a triathlete that has completed a triathlon, I don't care which type of triathlon, and you have to be an age group athlete, unfortunately. But it's you're going to email the AG. It's called AGA Tri Podcast at gmail.com. I record weekly, and we've got a lot of episodes coming out, and it's gaining a lot of steam, which is what I like. So
awesome, man. Well, in wrapping up, you listen to my podcast, so there's always the final question, and it's really for everybody that listens to this today. What do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with the idea that they have the ability to be better than they are. It doesn't mean that they're not good or they're great at what they do, but they could be better. And I think I want people to realize that there's no easy solution or magic pill to being successful. The only way that happens is by consistently working and learning.
All right, my friend. Hey, just want to say thank you. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much, David.
Hey, Masters. 45 seconds. That's all I ask. I appreciate you listening to the show. I don't know if I say that enough, but I know you can invest your time wherever you choose. So thank you for spending it here with us. Remember, if you want any information on me or my events coming up, just go to my website, which is davidihill.com. Again, davidihill.com. Click on the events tab. You've got webinars, you've got past webinar replays. Everything is there. You can also get access to our sponsors there if you click on the affiliates link. So again, everything is at davidihill.com. And we'd love to have you join us on our Facebook community, which just go to Facebook and search groups, which is Path to Mastery. And finally, as you know, you can get yourself a free book by going to davidsfreebook.com. My friends, again, I just want to say I appreciate you spending time with us. Oh my gosh, I forgot to review. If you would, it helps so much if you'd be willing to go give me a review and then email a review to me at david@davidihill.com. Email it to me. I'll read it on air for you. And I just want to say I appreciate you again for listening to the show. You rock. Enjoy the rest of your day.